When I was in my early 20s, I had dropped out of college and wasn't sure what I wanted to be when I grew up, which, if you know me at all, that's a continual theme. I keep reinventing myself, trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. And I was working three jobs. One of them was 40 hours a week as a retail manager in a shoe store, where I enjoyed unpacking all the boxes, and it felt like a puzzle to me, taking all the boxes of shipment apart, getting them on the shelves, working with customers, and having a really good experience in the retail world. I love doing displays, and it was a really interesting part of my life. My second job was working at Fat Daddy's, which is a local York bar where at the time the servers would go up on the DJ booth and sing or dance with the DJ, and we'd go out on the floor and do very, very mild dances on the floor and just entertain the crowd in between serving people drinks. And then my third job was working with my dad, who was a car dealer. So at the time I lived in York, or we are now, and he worked out of a dealership in Baltimore. So it was about a 60-mile drive, and it made me very comfortable just getting into all kinds of different cars and getting on the highway and taking trips. And I think that is part of the reason I'm very comfortable driving any car today, as well as going on road trips. One of the things that we did would go to auctions and pick up cars that were there that had just been purchased. So it would be a car we knew nothing about. We'd be told, go pick up the silver Honda. It's parked in aisle 20, and we'd get the car, and then we would drive it to Baltimore. So that was something I did. It would, from my house to picking up the car to Baltimore, it would take about 2 hours, and we made $100. So it was something I would squeeze into my schedule just as another way to make money at that time of my life. But the thing about getting those cars was we would just have this little magnetic dealer tag that we would put on the back of the car when we got it, and we would drive it down. And that was the way that we could drive these cars on the road, because we only had that as our paperwork that we were able to drive it. So even though I was working so many different hours, I still tried to make time for the things I wanted to do. And my brother was a really good high school basketball player at the time. And I arranged my schedule so that I could go and watch a very important basketball game for him in Spring Grove. And the team was really good, and he was a really good player. It was wintertime toward the end of the season. I think I recall it was a playoff game, and drove from York to Spring Grove for that. And one of the cars that I would then be driving the next day for my dad. It was winter, and a few days before it had snowed, but the weather that night was fine, except that it was very, very cold. And I was driving on the main road towards Spring Grove and veered off onto, a 2-lane backcountry road that had a couple different hills on it. And it was a road that a lot of trucks took to go to the Hanover food store and different places where food was dropped off in the area. Well, I wasn't really paying attention to the conditions of the road that much, because all the roads had been clear up to that point. Well, there were two little dips in the road, and 2 dips up, a tractor trailer misjudged the icy conditions. So that tractor trailer slammed on its brakes. The next car was another tractor trailer, which jackknifed, and it was right in front of me. So then my car went into the tractor trailer, and my car slid right into the back passenger side, smashed into the tractor trailer. So I heard tires screeching and glass shattering, and felt slow motion me going into this car. And then I stopped, and I realized that something bad had happened, and braced myself to try and figure out whether or not I was hurt. And I wasn't. So all the cars stopped at the same time. Cars behind us screeched, and all the traffic on the road shut down on this kind of back road. And I stopped, and then we all looked, and I got out of my car, and I was fine. The other people seemed fine, but their cars were very injured or very banged up. So we waited, emergency personnel came. Again, it was very cold outside, but I was just very happy that although I'd hit a tractor trailer, I was not hurt. But I still had the matter of that I was supposed to be going to this basketball game and had no way to get there and was trying to figure out how to get to the game. I didn't have a cell phone at the time. So I convinced the police officer who was there to give me a ride to the basketball game. And he said, well, ma'am, this isn't what we do. And I said, I know, but you shut down the road so no one can come get me. And I still need to go to the basketball game. So he drove me to the basketball game. I walked in and my parents were in the audience and I found them. And I had taken the license plate off the car because I was drilled into me. So I walk in and I sit down and my dad looks at me and says, you're late. And I knew I was late. And I pulled out the license plate and held it up to him and said, there was an accident. And he said, oh, did you get stuck in traffic? I said, here's the plate from the car. And he said, are you okay? And I said, I'm okay. He said, is the car okay? I said, Dad, I'm holding the license plate. He said, oh, well, let's finish watching the game and then we'll talk about it. So it was a very close call for me. And I was happy that it turned out the way that it did.